Yeah, it's just a town board meeting.
Did he say anything?
Not yet.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for this meeting?
Certainly. Members of the Town Board, change start time of October 10th, 2024, meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners. Please be advised that the meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners on Thursday, October 10th, 2024, currently noticed for 10:30 a.m. pursuant to Resolution Number 2024-19, will instead begin at 10 a.m. Maria Z. Moore, Supervisor, Town of Southampton, October 8th, 2024.
Thank you. And would you also please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore,
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Iacilli.
Here.
Councilman Pell. Councilman Scivone.
Present.
Thank you. All right, well, welcome everyone. We're having a meeting of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners. Why don't you come on up and join us? James Cappers, Keith Tuttle, John Collins, and Chris Weber.
Morning.
Good morning. All right, how would you like to start today? You want to give us, I know we've got 3 topics listed: pumpage, ongoing capital projects, and Plant 3 updates.
Sure, I'll start it off.
Okay.
So we last met in May of this year. We're just getting started, basically, with a high demand pumpage. This year we're down about 6% overall on our total pumpage. That's well pumpage and metered sales. Could be because of our water conservation, which we hope is getting to everybody, but likely not. But we had a wet summer this year, so irrigation use was down a little bit, but overall 6% at this point from last year, which is good to see on our end. We want to see that demand down. Meter sales is down mainly because of the older meters in the ground, which we're in the middle of doing our water meter replacement program, and we'll continue that until everyone's changed out. A lot of meters in the ground aren't as dialed in as they should be, so that's why we need to get them out of the ground so the cash registers are working properly. But overall,
What's that involved? Is everyone getting a new water meter?
everybody will eventually have them. I think there's roughly 7,000 accounts, so there'll be 7,000 meters in the ground within the next 5 years.
Did all the large meters, right?
Yes, all the large meters are biggest one, the 8-inch. That's done, and then we have a few 6-inch that was done, and then a couple 3-inch, and now we're going to the smaller of the large ones, the 2-inch and 1.5 inch. So that's our main focus for next year, is get those bigger, smaller meters out of the ground so that they start working properly, and then eventually do the 1-inch and 5/8.
And this was one of the items that was identified on the 10-year capital plan back in
Correct.
2019. That
Yeah.
we were, okay.
Correct, yeah. And we broke it up, instead of doing all at once, we're doing a little bit each year to kind of spread the cost a little bit, because they are expensive now. Being they rely on computer chips, and the computer chips have gotten very expensive that they use, and the prices have dramatically increased. But we hope that we applied for a couple of grants for them. We didn't see anything this year. It's a green grant, but we're going to keep applying, see if we can get any money towards that to help spread the cost.
And you put the 500,000 request in the budget,
Yeah,
which was tentatively approved.
Yes, that's for next year. Being that the main focus is going to be the 2-inch and 1.5 inch meters, so they're going to be very expensive to purchase and then get them in the ground.
Do they fit in the current cradle
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
So
nothing
it's-
really that has to change with the meter setting unless the meter settings are inside the house. Some of the houses in Hampton Bay still had the meters in the house with a remote read on the outside of the house, but we currently are removing all the ones from inside the house and putting them outside in the ground. The main focus at the end of this is to be remote reading. Right now, we are still touch read, but we have to have the guys go out and manually scan the meter pit, and then it's downloaded into a unit, and then they have to go to each house. So remotely, we'll be able to drive down the street. A system will collect the reads, and then we'll be able to process the billing that way. Because now that'll take our manpower down from 4 employees down to maybe 1 or 2. So we can focus on other things.
Wow,
Kinda get
that's a really
the back
benefit.
end of stuff that we have to scramble towards the end of the year to get done, because every month 4 employees for 2.5 weeks are collecting reads. So and then they got a week and a half to do all the repairs, and then they start again. So this will help us for the maintenance end when we have to go out and do maintenance.
Free them up to do other work
Yeah.
that needs to be done on the district. Good.
And maybe Tut and I won't have to go out and do everything.
When you have to replace the ones that are outside the house, would you notify the homeowner
Yeah, we
that
call
you're
the
coming?
homeowner and just explain to them, we want to move it out to the front lawn. Basically, so if we ever have to do a repair, we can do it without disturbing them inside the house. And it helps with the flow going into the house too. We remove all that plumbing that's, mishmashed inside, and then it's a straight line going into their house. And then the newer meters don't have any moving parts. It's more or less like a straight tube. The older meters have like a turbine in on the inside that moves, which restricts flow up to 5 psi. So they see a lot of increase in flow as well once we put that new meter setting out for that. And they all comply.
They have to be home though. I mean,
We
it's a lot of
go down and do
coordination,
the
right?
plumbing. We remove that, so usually somebody's there. It only takes about an hour for us to get the job done, so it's not really much of a hassle.
All right, great.
Now you said it.
Chances are, if the meter's inside the house, it's old plumbing too.
Oh, it's old. Very old, yeah.
If it's not inside
It's
the
copper,
house,
it's
which
workable.
most of them are not, you said, then you still need to coordinate with the homeowner, or you just give notice and then go do it,
If they're inside the house?
if
too?
they're not inside.
If they're not inside the house, we just, the shut off is maybe 10, 15 minutes for us to swap the meter. It's really not long. If they're home in the middle, if we see the meter running, there's an indicator that the meter's running, we'll, knock on the door, say, you're taking a shower, we'll come back later to change it or something. But usually 9 times out of 10, nobody's home. It's usually during the day. A lot of people leave for work and stuff, so that's the summertime. But we do get notification that we have to shut the water off longer than we expect.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, we only really had this with the pumping jet. We only had 2 issues this year. We had a motor fizzle out on us in the middle of the night, probably in July, where we were down for roughly 6 hours without the well. It was during our peak demand, so we did have some issues with the pressure in the neighborhood, but we did notify and we were back up and running. The motor, I always keep a spare motor for each well that we have. Depending on the horsepower, I have a spare for that horsepower in the shop, so it's not ordering one, waiting 6 weeks for it to come in, and then being down for that long. So it was quickly changed. And then we had a communication issue, which hopefully the communication issues will be eliminated once we do the SCADA, where our wells operate off SCADA, and SCADA is controlled by Optimum, and Optimum is down. That basically shut all the wells off at once. So then we get notified, we have to go out and turn them all on manually. But that was a very short interruption, maybe half hour by the time everything was up and running. But other than that, we had no other issues. Everything.
Does that happen every time Optima is an outage?
Yeah, it's usually not as broad as this one was. It's usually just one plant that will go down, and usually, it'll run on the back end because we do have backups. But when the main trunk goes down, then that's when we have issues. But we're going to be hopefully upgrading to fiber at each plant, which is a lot faster and more reliable. And all the backups will be changed and everything. So if it should be an outage again, we won't have that issue where things get shut off. Not really relying on us anymore. So. Other than that, we had no other issues with the wells. All the sampling came back. Everything is good. The GAC ran flawless. We had it up and running. That was one of the capital projects we put into last year for this year. The carbon reactivation. Yeah, reactivated and put it online by the beginning of June, right before our busy season. And pilot study with H2M with the Board of Health to make sure that the reactivated carbon is doing its job. The sampling there every 2 weeks and sending it to the Board of Health. So, and it has been doing its job, removing the fluorinated that need to be removed, and it's working great.
Are there any, based on the report, are there any particular wells, areas that there are higher levels?
You'll see for plant 1, that's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, where the current GAC system is installed. That's our highest levels of detections, but they all are
In the acceptance range?
where there's non-detect going into the system.
Okay.
They're removed from our GAC system.
Okay.
That's there.
These are readings before they go into the filter.
You'll see before and after. It says, each well, then it'll say influent, and then it'll say GAC effluent, and you'll see ND next to that means non-detect and detection.
Okay.
But the other one was plant 3. You'll see in there. That's the current project we're working on for the GAC.
Mm-hmm.
Come 2027, when the Board of Health enforces the 4 parts per trillion that the EPA has brought down. Right now, it's not an enforceable limit, but in 2027 it will be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're working now to get that GAC system up and running at Plant 3 by 2026, so that we're not looking at a scramble at the end and losing it well for being over that MCL. At times, like you'll see, I think it's 3-2 is at a 5 right now. So in 2027, not be allowed to run. So if when we had the GAC system there, completely removing, we'll be able to run that field no problem. So that's why we're pushing hard now to fund that Plant 3 operation.
What is the current level there?
I think it's a 5 at 3.2. Right now, the limit's a 10. And then we do a blended test where all 3 run and then go to system, and that one's at about a 3 right now. So we would be below the 4, but depending on what the Board of Health would say, if they would allow us to do blending as a way of removing it. But
What does the Suffolk County Water Authority test at generally? Do you know that answer? I mean, I know 10's the limit, but
what their levels are?
what their levels are. I know it's different in different places. I know that there's an acceptable amount.
Yeah, they have so many wells.
It's hard to give one number.
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
know
just,
they have
just
detects,
knowing
too.
that it's going to below 4, we want to get it to that non-detect as quickly as possible, because you don't want to be telling people like, listen, we're currently a little over the number that's going into effect, but it's not going into effect until
Right.
2027.
Yeah, no, that's why we're aggressive in trying to get the funding for that. HMM will give the updates on where we are with that project, but that was one of our big decisions, because yes, this wasn't included in the 10-year capital plan, but this is an issue that came about in 2020. So shortly thereafter, we adopted the
2018, we were registering high amounts of
2018,
PFOs
that's
and
when the advisory
PFOAs
level was
when the
from
levels were
200,
60.
70, then down to 10. They were at
Right.
200, then they dropped it overnight to 70, and that's when we came into the issues
Mhm.
that Plant 1 in 2018. But we want to get ahead of this game.
We've come a long way since that
And
time.
I did notice, though, I don't believe it's the funding for Plant 3 is in the preliminary budget.
I think that's what you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, there is a bill that the Assemblyman Thiel and Senator Laval put forward to the governor, that it would amend the language in CPF to allow, instead of having just certain projects that would be covered by CPF funding, it would change the definition to any project that improves the water quality for drinking surface water. And so I've been doing what I can to get that, get people behind that, to support it with the Suffolk County supervisors and the East End mayors and supervisors. And hopefully that will get signed, and then this whole project could be covered with water quality funds.
Is that going to be a delay? Like the thing that's great, but we just don't want the delay to be like it might come into effect end of next year, and then we're behind that 10 or 11 months that we didn't have the funding to do work. Where because right now it's about 40 weeks out to order filters.
Wow.
A lot of the MCCs and a lot of specialized items needed for this plant are a long time to get once you order them. So if that 11 or 12 month delay, and then that could push us towards 27, 28 year not being up and running. That's my only fear. I
Yeah.
don't wanna have a delay where I have to tell the customers that we waited to try to see if a bill passed to.
Oh, no, but we'll know before the end of the year whether it's gonna pass.
Okay.
And my understanding was we had about almost 4 million put aside for the project already,
3.7
3.7.
for the first stage.
Uh-huh, and that there's a grant pending for the,
Yeah, there's a grant pending, hopefully we'll find out this month if
Yeah.
we do hear anything.
Yeah.
There's also a lawsuit pending with Napoli and DuPont 3M, but
Mhm.
we don't know, that could get delayed. You know,
Yeah.
hopefully we hear by the end of the year, if not.
yeah,
beginning
so
of
by
May.
the end of the year, we'll know about all of those things.
And the
And
difference
working
here in the
care of it.
funding streams, if it does, when it does get bonded, it gets paid by the residents of Hampton Bays in the water district.
Yeah.
Whereas if we can get the grants from other places, then it, that's gonna be deferred, or
But-
that's gonna be augmented. I understand there's some questions here that, have
I mean, I
been
feel like
raised,
it
important
should
ones.
be, we should have the funding there available and hope to not need it, rather than not have it there and have this funding not come through.
Well, I did, when we were doing the budget, I spoke with the comptroller, and we can, there's a very, very healthy, surplus that we could draw from if we needed to do that. So we
How
could
much is
borrow
spec-
the money from,
There's an additional 4 million for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest thing to do is to be fully funded, so that when you apply for a grant and you're fully funded, that's when you have a better chance of
Receiving the grant, yeah.
If you're not fully funded, they're just gonna reject.
So how much are you
well, I
seeking?
don't know, I don't think that that's quite accurate, because, with the other grants, as long as you show that you have the matching funds, yes, that you don't have to show you have all the money for the entire project, because then why would you need the grant? And I did confirm it with the state, that if you, for example, the Noyak Road sidewalk or pedestrian improvement project, same thing, the state said, that's correct, if you bond the amount of your match, then the state knows that they're giving you a grant in this much, and you certainly have enough put aside to complete the project. That's their biggest
Yeah, we don't have the
concern.
full amount for the project.
Right, but
The
you
full
will,
amount is-
you will, it's,
John, how does this grant work?
This is the WIA grant, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, and they have traditionally always wanted to see the entity receiving the grant fully funded before they move forward, but we have done things in the past where we've bonded a certain amount, like we did here, and been successful.
But you're more successful if you
We're
show.
gonna find out here in the next couple of weeks, because I imagine it'll be before election. No, that usually always falls before.
Yeah. we won't leave you without the money.
Yeah.
Either way, you're
Yeah.
gonna have the money,
I
it's
just wanna
just,
make sure
I'm very,
we don't miss out on, not necessarily the grant, but miss out on
The time
ordering
frame.
and time frame. That's, the 2027, yes, seems far away, but this project does take a while to complete. I don't wanna be up and running by the middle of 26, which we're projecting to be if we move forward with the schedule.
yeah, I think we can, we'll know by the end of the year.
Okay.
And then if we need to take another action, we'll do that to get the funding.
You won't let the Hampton Bays people down.
We appreciate that. We've come a long way, like
Yes.
Tom and John has said, since 2018, they've gained the trust and respect back from the community, so I just don't wanna lose that.
No. it's
No, of
important.
course not.
Speaking of which, this report very, very interesting, and I appreciate you reviewing some of the differences in the wells. Is there a way that this can sort of be distilled into something that is more brief, a sort of general overview of what is captured here for the public in Hampton Bays? I think it would be beneficial for folks in Hampton Bays to receive some sort of, outline of like what was the information that was collected, and
They do that.
Like a summary.
They send a summary.
Yeah, we do, in our annual water quality report, we do summarize each thing that we test for and the detections that we've had. And then if people have questions, they can call us and we give them a full report, or we can explain to them what each one is that was detected.
so they're getting they're getting something like this that's shorter and
Yeah,
more
it's
of a
like,
summary.
if you look on a water quality
It's like
report,
a
I have a
two-page.
copy. It's like a trifold, and there's a table that each one puts in there with the, what each thing we test for, if we had an exceedance, if we didn't have an exceedance, what our current level is. And so
Great.
forth.
When does that annual report
do,
come
yeah.
out?
Every May. we sent it out.
We got one this
Yeah, I
May.
sent you guys, I believe I sent you guys.
Yeah, we have
And
it.
that May covers the previous year.
Now, is there a way we could at least every, I don't know if we can every year do something in the Hampton Bays Senior Center, one night? What?
No,
They've
But
already
we-
said,
I
they've
bring
already
this up
said
every
yes. We're
meeting,
just
but
trying-
the reason why we haven't is because we don't have the AV equipment there, I'm
Yeah.
told.
Well,
So it
But we're
hasn't
getting an
happened. But I think it's a
encoder with-
great idea, Councilman, that we, bring it to Hampton
Well, do
Bays
we-
and have them.
we don't necessarily
Yeah.
need to have it necessarily broadcasted. I think if we at
Exactly.
least have a meeting, if we can try to get something scheduled, I think that would be helpful. I know that we've previously been asked about, having,
This board meeting, yeah.
yeah,
That's why we paused this year, because I think you guys were working on whether we can have it there.
yeah.
We always want to do like an outreach
Mhm.
to the
I-
consumers, but
Thought we had
We're-
said that we would do one in May when that report comes out, and then have a follow-up meeting at the senior center, and then it's also the start of the busy season when
Yeah.
people need to be reminded of,
Right.
conservation and.
Yeah.
So we can start now setting that up for May,
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
and there is the encoder that will have the capability also.
To broadcast.
Yeah,
Broadcast. We have a-
Right,
we have a
that's
new
the
person
sticking
in
point,
CTV.
so.
CTV has to be revamped. We have a new person who's running it, and a new oversee. I hope it gets back up to par.
yeah, we're open definitely to do that, and we can explain all this stuff in depth to customers.
I appreciate that.
Sure,
Yeah.
it's fun. Be glad to-
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I mean, eventually you could even take CTV to one of your places to do, when you're doing your filters and video it, so you can show people exactly what you're doing.
And informational. Yeah, we
might
could
be
do that
good.
too.
Andrew's working very hard. He's probably listening.
Oh my
And crew.
goodness.
So a couple of questions about
Sure.
the capital improvements, the subaqueous crossing. So those all
Yeah,
done, hooked
done
up? Give
completely.
us an overview, please.
Yeah, so they were up and running end of last year, September, I think. Was the last one. Was the last one that we did the east side of the canal. And the east side saw improvements, drastic improvements of the volume of water. Pressure's pressure, but the volume now you have a redundant feed, because
Mhm.
there's only fed once underneath the Montauk Bridge going over the canal. So now we have 2 feet of redundant feed. Still at the higher elevations, you're going to see that volume drop because they're at the highest point of town. But we didn't have really any, if any, calls this year regarding low water pressure. on the east
That's
side.
good, because that was a pretty significant issue not that long ago.
We did have the Hampton Maid.
Did
They
they get their
call-
irrigation piping squared away?
Yeah, so that was a big issue in 2018, 2019 when we had that shut the field down. They were one of the businesses that lost productivity because of the water. So once that was all fixed, and then they called again
Last year.
and we were like, "There's no way, there's no way." So I actually called John. I brought every single person from the water district there. We walked the property, and we ended up finding a
Massive leak.
huge leak in an 1.5-inch poly line. It was only about 3.5 feet in the ground that fed one of their condos there. That was pulling all the water pressure away.
Mhm.
So, yep. So they got a brand new meter, and they got their line fixed. Actually, somebody that we know, we called. He was there within 5 minutes. He fixed the line. He fixed the line, and they haven't had an issue since. So
2 feet down?
2 feet down.
2 feet down, okay.
Old irrigation poly that fed. That place is 100 years old, I think now. So.
It's supposed to be 54 inches.
Yeah. But we were happy to see it wasn't, not happy for
Right.
them that they had an issue, but happy to see that it wasn't on our end, that we were providing them with the adequate supply, that it was an issue on their end, which was fixed. And, we helped them out with their bill because their bill was astronomical because of the leak, so they were very happy.
What are the size of the mains going under the canal and under the bay? Are they the same? The
direction-
subaqueous crossings, the new ones that the
Both
people of
slope.
Hampton Bays
both
purchased?
12-inch, right.
12-inch?
The HDPE, the plastic pipe.
Okay.
in the sleeve.
Wellfield 3 on Bellows Pond Road, is that all complete?
We're in process of doing
Okay,
That's if you guys
please,
wanna-
that's our 1,000,000-gallon tank there?
No, that's Plan 4.
Oh, okay.
Plan 4 is the one with the iron
Oh, right.
manganese
This is-
removal.
Yeah,
Up and running, complete, running fine. The tank is perfect. We just had all 3 tanks this year cleaned. All the mildew that grows on the outside of the tanks, they're all washed and sprayed with the coatings to help prevent corrosion, so they all look really good. Do you have a copy of the tank inspection reports?
Well, from
From-
2018, I know.
Oh, I sent over the one for 2023 or 24 you guys just completed. I sent over a copy to the town board, but everything was fine.
Is everybody on Rampasture happy?
Well, yes and no, but you can't make them all happy with the road because obviously the road is disturbed and it's temporary for a while and it breaks rivets but the
Talk about water, not the road.
the road, the water, yeah, the water is phenomenal down there now since we did that main replacement and that short piece on East Diana. Definitely bringing more volume into that little armpit of Rampasture. It's only fed once, so bringing that big 12-inch down there and replacing that old main definitely yeah. One for fire flow down there now. There's all brand new hydrants. There's 4 or 5 that were replaced on a new 12-inch. So now we have adequate fire flow down there, and then better flow to the residents now. Each one of there's 72 taps, I believe, on Rampasture that were redone into the new main. So everybody got a new tap feeding their water meter. And like I said, the fire hydrant. So that's a plus for that area. I guess I'll just go to the project updates and I'll let the HOM give us a feel on that.
There was one project was the SCADA and tank monitoring, and we did that. I think that's on the schedule to be awarded by the town board here in the next week or two.
Yeah, we submitted to Resendez, the contract awards. That was the resolution that you guys just passed to move all the money around. Because that one project came over budget that was budgeted a few years ago, but obviously the pricing increased. Being that Rampasture came in so low, our carbon change-out came in lower than expected. We were able to take that money, move it to the SCADA project, and I think only take about $1,200 from surplus to fund that project. So that project will be funded and moving forward here, hopefully by the end of the year.
So Plan 3, obviously we were approved to begin design. We sent out soil boring crew and survey crew. Survey is completed. We have that in-house now. Soil borings, we're expecting those results any day now. I think we got an email yesterday. They took it back, so we're expecting a revised report from them today. So right now we're working through preliminary design, setting out the layout of the site, the mains, get an idea of the layout of the building. The plan is in the next week to sit down with James and take a look at the building, make sure it meets everything that he's expecting it to be in terms of the piping operation, and then after that we'll kick off full board design and move that as quickly as we can to obviously a final review by the district as well as submission to the health department, because they're going to need to review it before we can bid it.
How long does it usually take the health department to do?
Suffolk County is usually about 3 to 4 months.
3 or 4 months, yeah.
But if we get a grant, you have to go to the state, and that's usually 6 to 8 months.
In addition to the county, you mean?
Concurrent, as long as we do grants at the same time.
Just to add on to the Plan 3 project, within this GAC project, there's also within the capital budget, that 10-year master plan, there's a bunch of upgrades that are going to happen within this that, the $7 million total isn't all just for GAC. It's, there's about $2 or $3 million that was needed for upgrades on all the panels that are in there, chemical rooms, the wells, and so forth. So it's not really all for the GAC. There's a lot of it's coinciding with the adopted 10-year master plan as well.
Systemic upgrades.
Yeah, so it's stuff that is needed that was scheduled to be done, but we're just kind of merging the two projects together. Might as well do it all at once instead of piecemealing it together.
So you mentioned the carbon for the granularly activated carbon filters were actually lower than expected?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But before that, it was actually higher than we had anticipated. And we
Yeah.
allocated more money, and it came in
Yeah.
a little.
Because it was
I'm happy to hear that because
Yeah.
it was.
most of our
It
projects
came in about what it was supposed to be before we thought it
Well,
went
I
up.
think it was
Yeah.
still higher originally, but
Yeah.
it's lower than what we were.
Yeah, because the reactivation is lesser than what full change out. We're not buying
Mhm.
actually a product, we're just having a service done.
And the
they
life-
they do put virgin carbon in there within
20%.
20% is virgin carbon.
What does that do to the lifespan of the filter?
Of the carbon itself.
Carbon
I mean,
itself, right.
I mean,
Same,
realistically,
or-
yeah, you're expecting about the same life expectancy.
Okay, good. 3 to
it's-
5 years.
Yeah, it's a little bit like when they do the reactivation, it actually will open up some more pore space, so you could, in theory, get some more life expectancy, but it's nothing really measurable.
Okay.
So the expectation is around the same.
Is there any thought or down the line to using like a polymer based?
Yeah, we're
part
talking about
Part of
a
that
pilot.
Plant 3 project it also includes us doing a pilot. So right now we're in like a bench test phase. We're grabbing all the data points that you guys have. We're going to be reaching out to manufacturers, distributing the water quality to kind of get from the manufacturers the best resin option that we have based on the water quality. At which point, we'll set up again. We'll have to go to the health department to just get their preliminary thoughts on what our pilot will be, so that when we go through it, they approve the resin for use for potable water. I mean, it's NSF 61 approved, so that's not an issue. It's just they need to actually approve the use of a different medium.
And then that takes out like the whole recharge scenario with the carbon, right? Where you still have to kind of.
So it depends on the resin. The resins that we'd be looking at now, at the moment, aren't rechargeable, so they would just be disposable.
Totally changed it.
Yeah. You could still do a carbon. It really is going to be based on the individual water quality, what the cost of the media is versus the carbon, and what the life expectancy is. So it's a cost balance analysis that we'd have to do.
And that would still have to be approved by the health department.
Yeah.
Polymer based,
The
which is
polymer-based.
kind of what got us in this situation in the first place. PFOs are polymer based chain molecules. Okay.
Had them in my water softener in my house for years.
Yeah.
A little bit of salt, wash them up, and let them go.
What's your guess on how many months for the design to be done? Once you get the
design?
preliminary design.
I think we're expecting to be completed with the design around March or April of next year. At which point, as soon as that's done, that's going to get submitted to that health department, so we can start the ball rolling on that.
Which works out perfect because it'll lead to a fall 2025 construction when they take the wells offline.
Yeah, we will.
Unless you need the approval from the state, then it could push it out another 6 to 8 months.
Then we have to call the state.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the parents will call the state.
Which side do you want? Better water quality, or do you want to?
Yeah.
What else? Oh, about the gas station,
Yeah. So
fueling station.
our tanks are gas, and we have a filling station, gas and diesel at our main plant, ATB Pompong, that we use for our vehicles and so forth. And we have to have those tanks inspected every year by DEC. And our gas tank is coming towards end of life, and it's going to have to be replaced. So we want to upgrade that to the newer system, similar to the one on Jackson Avenue. I was going back and forth with Tom Hooten about that upgrade. He's kind of in charge of that area, and he gave us a price that we submitted for a capital budget. And we're weighing the pros and cons. The pro being we have the fueling station, and we have a backup fueling station if, God forbid, natural disaster or the one on Jackson Avenue goes down. We have ours that the town can use, or us going to Jackson Avenue using that one. So I think.
We actually talked about that
Yeah,
yesterday.
I think you guys were discussing.
Yeah, we discussed it yesterday, remember?
I don't remember.
When I brought up the fuel tanks, the gas tanks, the diesel tanks.
How many
Tom brought
gallons?
that up.
1,000 gallon gas, 500.
Because you had suggested we try using the Jackson Avenue location. So that's why we
Yeah, 'cause-
determined that we would do that, and if that doesn't work in terms of supply and demand, then we would take another look at upgrading the tanks. Are
Yeah,
you
we just
saying
didn't want-
something different
Well,
now?
it's just that we don't wanna lose that, you know, if we can have that one still, cause I was saying, I was talking with Tom, that a reserve site.
We've
God
also
forbid.
had issues, we've also had conversations with your site with having higher capacity for, God forbid, like you said, there was a hurricane and the ambulance department needed a filling station or the fire department. It's just another, right now, if we just have Jackson Avenue, we have no additional capacity to allow them to use our tanks.
Yeah, that was my, like, I don't mind, like, using the Jackson, which is fine, but then the thought of losing that satellite station, you know.
And I mean, Jackson Avenue has gone down, in that case, you have to send everybody out to North Sea.
Yeah, and so like,
Considering-
and North Sea just had a new one put in recently.
Yeah.
But I think what we, I think you're better off increasing your volume there,
Yeah.
where you are, for
Cause the
backup.
fire marshals are also there, so they can, utilize it as well, so,
Yeah.
Not overloading one site. Like I say, it would, is the cost of playing both, options, the cost of saving, just, using Jackson Avenue, yes, it's good, but then now, thinking about it is just why get rid of a site that we could.
Because it's once
all
you get rid of,
benefit from.
because once you get rid of it, it's very difficult to get.
Yeah,
back.
and you can talk to Ryan Murphy about it too, because we had that conversation as far as an emergency management issue with having more capacity versus less, because
Yeah,
we would have the ability then to back up the ambulance and the fire department if, God forbid, gas stations were down. And
I wonder if you spin it as an emergency management.
I can ask Ryan about that to see if we can get some funding for it,
Yeah.
If you spin it as emergency management, not just.
at least for the increase in capacity potentially.
yeah, because, the capacity we have now is great for us, but if we're gonna bring on more, we
Yeah.
definitely have to increase it.
This is existing capacity.
Yeah,
Right.
we have
So we're-
1,500 right now, so if we were to involve the whole town to be able to use it, we would have to obviously increase the capacity there.
Certainly appreciate you taking a look at this now before it is a situation as it comes to its end
Yeah,
of its
because right
life.
now we don't have to get rid of it, like, we're still okay, but it's coming towards that, so that's why we're looking into it now, to just make sure that we don't just end up going down and saying, hey, can we use your gas tanks now? We wanted to weigh best, both options, see what you guys thought of us using theirs, or,
I just think to have to give up a second site.
yeah, the more we thought about it, it's like, it might be better off for, not just for us, for everybody, to have that.
And the new system's a lot easier to keep track.
Yeah, it's scanners on the thing,
Yeah. It's not like years ago.
and then it works where each entity pays their way.
Well, I can see that point. I was not discussed previously, so it wasn't
Yeah.
put in the tentative budget because the option was provided here that it would work just as well using Jackson Avenue. So, but we do still have the opportunity to adjust the budget at the upcoming public hearing. So
Yeah.
we can add the 250,000 to the, for a bond resolution unless Councilwoman McNamara determines through her research that there's funding available,
Always
from
great to
another
have additional
source.
funding from another source.
Yeah.
No, I'll definitely check with Ryan about seeing if we can get some, grant funding for additional capacity for,
Do you have a
Emergency.
person on staff?
Yeah. not Ryan. Ryan is our emergency management. It's Ryan's full. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, he's got a lot.
We don't, Grant Ryder isn't on step, but she's
But
she's
we
consultant.
have somebody that we use,
Yeah,
that we have as a consultant.
Yeah,
Why, do you need help?
yeah, I
Yes.
believe it.
Massiano?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know her well.
Okay, that's who we use.
If you want, I could reach out and just.
That would be great. I'll check with Ryan too, just to make sure.
Great. I think the only other project we had talked about is the test well project that we had funded. We met on site, myself, John, and we went to the site actually at the end of 12 hours. We walked the whole site where our water main easement goes through. And talking back and forth with Kathleen in the town attorney's office, the way to go about to get a piece of property, we have to go through an alienation process. But before we do that, we want to make sure the water quality there is good enough for us to eventually have a well site there. So what we're going to do is what we have submitted for a PO for H2M to have the site surveyed. easement surveyed where our water main actually is, and then have a test well done to test the quality of water there, and make sure that moving forward, we want to go through the alienation property to have a process to have a piece of property to eventually put a new well, because I think by 2029, I think it said we need to have a new well site. Sooner than later, we want to do it now, because it will be beneficial to us to have an additional well to take the pressure off some of the other wells, especially in that part of the Hampton Bays Water District. It would be beneficial, being that the new water main is going underneath the canal, so that one's closer to that main to help push the water east. And then who knows what's going to happen with the Shinnecock Indian Reservation over there, but eventually it's going to come to fruition. So we just want to be prepared, and we also want to be able to provide water to our existing customers now. So that's where we're at with that one. Hopefully that will come into play towards the end of the year. We'll find out if we're even going to go through the alienation property process and find or find additional property. But, it's the best spot because the town owns the property, so it wouldn't cost us that much to get a piece of property from the town there.
Yeah, you don't have anything there right now, Jim?
No, just an easement.
Just the
20-foot easement that runs far around the Washington Heights.
okay.
So we're gonna try to do the work within the easement, the test well within the easement, so we don't have to.
Okay. And that property was acquired by the town. Was that dedicated open space from that subdivision, or is that what it was? I think it
I don't
was.
really know the history.
Yeah.
Kathleen knows a lot.
Yeah, I've spoken with Kathleen. Yeah.
Is there a water main in the easement currently?
Don't hit it.
That's right. Survey. That's why we need a survey.
No, just thinking if it was CPF, if we had purchased from CPF now with all the water quality portions of
Yeah.
CPF, we might not need an
No,
alienation,
it's
but
not,
if it's
yeah, it's not
with a
CPF.
dedicated open space.
That pretty much covered everything that's
Predated CPF, actually.
Yeah.
on my list as far as projects. Anything updates in the-
That's it. Ram pasture and punch list.
Yeah.
Should be done by Thanksgiving, and we're on to plan 3.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your
Hey,
time.
thanks.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate the support.
Okay.
We'll let you get on with your day.
Anybody in the public?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we do have a public portion. Nobody's here right now, but Kevin, is there anybody on Zoom that has a question or would like to speak? There you go.
Don't complain, believe it.
They do, just not
All
here.
right. So I
They are for our meetings.
Yes.
Tell your father I said hello.
I will, I definitely will.
So I move to close the public portion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.